Another plan explained on 25NL Zoom here on PokerStars. Just fired up the session and I got my first walk while I was still kind of setting up. So, well, hopefully this is a good start. Here on this board I have very few c-bets, even though I have an open-ender. Now I could consider betting, but on the other hand I have some showdown value and still drawing to a nutted hand. And now that we bricked, we still have ace high. And unfortunately he hit his 3 outer there on the river, but not a lot of damage done. Obviously, if I had bet at any point before the river, I would have gotten him to fold. Here, because he doesn't start the hand with a full stack, I will just fold. Had he started with a full stack, I would have raised or at least called. But I think it is not a mistake to just fold there with pocket fives. Also, I didn't have any information about him. I don't know how tight or loose he is. Here I would probably fold. I just unticked it in case he had gone to like 2x, which some very few players do. But not that one. Right, so let's see. Again, this is being a bit slow here. I got prompted to act before I could even see my cards. Okay, king 2 deuce. King 2 deuce, king deuce of diamonds. I mean, it's a tight one. I will call this one just because he doesn't c-bet much. Now he makes it half pot. I obviously have to call with top pair here. Now, with the 6 pairing. Okay, so let's see. I am gonna go for a block bet here, just in case he hit a jack or a 10 or something like that. And we do indeed get some value from, what did he have? Ace? Jack. Okay. Ace Jack, yeah. So that makes sense that he hit the jack on the river and then he called the small bet. Yeah, so there wasn't a great hand to call with. It was very, very close pre-flop. At best break even, but I thought a player who doesn't c-bet enough is usually not one of the best players, not very aggressive. So that makes it worthwhile to call big blind, even with king deuce suited. Of course, I would never call the offsuit variant, obviously. So far only a 12-6 here on the first 19 hands. 11-6 now after 20 hands. Let's see if we can... We will be able to play this one most likely. Come on, Ghost. Bluff or fold. He opted to fold. And here, I mean, this guy, I will actually go with a 3-bet here as he has folded 4 out of 5. Okay, I do not love this, obviously. I have to go. I'm going to go with a c-bet, but I'm going to go very small against it, and I do not like this, and I like this even less now. So obviously there is not much I can do with king high and no heart. But yeah, on monotone, flop in a 3-bet pot, if you're the pre-flop aggressor, it is often a good idea to just bet tiny, something like 10 to 50 or max 20% of the time, because a lot of players just don't really know how to deal with that. So you can do that for value, you can do it as a bluff as well. It often works well. Okay, a7 suited. We can defend that one against a raise. Just checking what kind of player this is. And we now have bottom pair. This is a board that he shouldn't c-bet too lightly. I am going to check raise this one. And we get the insta fold, which is great. Yeah, so king high boards are good for the preflop raiser. However, king 9-8, king 8-7, those two boards are pretty bad for some reason. So you do a lot of checking compared to normal king high boards. And this one was king 9-7 with two hearts. So he shouldn't c-bet too much. But in general, Pool tends to over c-bet. And for a good reason, because Pool also overfolds to c-bets. That's not one of my leagues, at least. What's Lucky doing? 3x raise. I have to fold Jack 4 off. Yeah, so I've been checking my stats, and I actually have a fold to c-bet stat that is quite low. But that probably reflects that I'm a bit aggressive with check raising. Here we can either go with a small bet or a check, but against what is likely to be a recreational player, I am happy to c-bet, because he will not check raise appropriately. So these are the smallest exploits you can use. I mean, I wasn't sure with that player because he had only played 5 hands, but he had played 3 out of 5 and 4 out of 6, including that one. So that kind of suggests that he might be more on the recreational side. This player here is definitely not so much on the recreational side, and I have to fold. Especially in the big blind, players don't tend to 3-bet as a bluff enough. Yeah, this guy will get the tag of being a non-crusher. And here, at this point, I mean, it is quite expensive, but we have that player in there. I will just call here the 5-4 of spades. And the flop couldn't really be any worse for my hand. So get away very quickly. Yeah, so should I even have called there? It was very, very marginal. And I only did it because there was this recreational player in the bot who was likely to call, which he did in the end. Here we look at this. So we have a 3-bet, we have a cold caller here. So now I definitely can't go anywhere. No point in raising. Just hoping to flop a set, which does not happen. And I will probably fold here. If he c-bets, because first of all, we don't have the 6 of hearts. And secondly, even his bluffs like ace queen or king jack or something like that still have good equity. And after he calls, I'm definitely out of this one. I still want to see what they have if possible. So I'm going to lurk around for a little longer and watch them tank. So I kind of think that this guy probably doesn't have much, but I think he will have either a set or an overpair the way he's playing it. And he pots it on the river. That's pretty big. So yes, he rivered a set there. Let's see what he had. Oh, he had kings. Okay, no, well, he did have kings. I'm surprised that he didn't c-bet the turn after he c-bet the flop with his kings against such a player that the big blind was. I would have just gone for value there. So here I just want to tag him as a non-crusher. So we're still only 17-11 here. We've got quite a few of these limpers. Okay, this. Well, whatever you have, you're probably beating me. I had given up on that hand before I even saw that he limped. A7 suited, we can raise on the button. And we get called. This is a board that I'm happy to c-bet with my ace high, but he donks. I mean, such a donk is, I don't know what it means from this specific player, but here I will just fold because I do not have anything in terms of backdoor. So except for the ace, I don't have anything. And that's why I just donked. Alternatively, I could have raised, but then I would have had to go for possibly two streets, two barrels, and then the pot would have become quite big, and I don't know anything about that player. So he might do that with a king. Typically it means that it's either a draw or a not so great king, or sometimes even some pocket pair below top pair. But sadly, we will not know what that player did it with. Okay, a playable hand for a change would be nice. It ain't this one. Okay, let's see. This might be it. Come on. Not too keen on calling King 9 off against cutoff. I would just about have against the button open. King 10 suited. This is a nice one to open. Again, this player tanking and then folding. Here we have this player from Japan, 3-betting, and I think I will. What's his pre-flop? 3-bet buy position, 1 out of 8. It's okay, I will give this one to him. I was considering to 4-bet there, but then I just took too long to do it because I wanted to check his stats, and by the time I took so long, then it might have been a bit suspicious. So I just gave up. King 10 suited is a hand that you can call there as well, but don't expect it to be plus EV. And 4 betting can be nice, but basically whatever you do, it's kind of like 0 EV. And then given that it took me so long and it looked a bit suspicious, I think the EV of raising just goes down a tiny bit. So best to just fold if you can't decide quickly. If in doubt, fold. I've learned that over the years. And we really can hardly play a hand now. This is very frustrating. But that's the danger if you only play one table. But at the same time, I don't want to overwhelm you guys and myself by playing 2 or even 3, 4 tables. Here we have pocket queens. This will be a hand that we will definitely play. I'll probably just get folds. Well, no, we do get a call here. Well, the reason why I'm checking behind here is because his range would have been maybe pocket pairs, maybe, yeah, it was probably nothing. Something like 2 broadways or so, and because we block the queen to death, there is not a lot that he could have had, and a hand like 6s or 7s or 8s or so, I could probably only have gotten 1 or max 2 streets of value anyway. So therefore, there wasn't much we could do there. And even on the turn, yes, I did overbet the turn, but I thought once he didn't even try to bluff the turn, sometimes recreational players, and he was most likely one, will take a stab if you show weakness, but in that case he didn't go for it, so then I just tried to do it the other way, to overbet and then maybe getting a call by a suspicious pocket pair or something like that. But unfortunately he did not go for it. Here, this is very borderline, but let's call, and we flop top pair, which is not bad. Now we do not have top pair anymore, so I think I will just check once again. And at this point, I think we can go for value, and we can probably go for even thick value. Don't want to overbet it, but I think here he could get suspicious with an ace, but more importantly, we can get money from the portion of his range that was just in showdown value mode, some pocket pair below the 9, or maybe third pair or something like that. But again, he did not go for it. Now what are we doing here? We've been losing $4 so far. Not the end of the world, but basically we've not been running great. It was the one time we hit a set, we didn't get any sort of action, and the other times when I tried to set mine, didn't work out, but that's okay. Still think played well so far. Come on, instant rise. This is a bit slow, just finally. Okay, here, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You can definitely 3-bet, but 9-8 suited in GTO land is not necessarily a 3-bet, or actually it's not much of a 3-bet. Very low frequency. I could have gone for it there. It was a button against cutoff, and the cutoff had a fairly high fold to 3-bet percentage. Here, nothing else to do than to call. And if cutoff c-bets, yeah, he c-bets big. And that is the issue here. When he c-bets big, I'm not loving life, but we have 2 overs and we have a gut shot. So I will check, and if he checks behind, yeah, now I will definitely go for a bet here. I strongly doubt that he has... Well, should I overbet or should I... Well, I'll just go with a small overbet here. I need just over 50% folds, and I think I can get that because it's unlikely that he has a flush. He would most likely have continued. Well, that said, now obviously once we pot it and we get raised here, I'm just taking my time because I'm talking to you guys, but obviously I will fold. But yeah, there is there's a good chance that we get it through because we can call the flop with flush draw. Then obviously we won't. I'll just fold this one. Then we will not donk the turn, so we still have all the flushes. And the only thing is, like, because I made it so big, that kind of made it look like, or I made it look like I either have something very nutted or a bluff. But even then, I just think that he wouldn't risk 45 big blinds in that spot. Here we could see bet. Is it worth it? I think I just check, but now we get a turn that's not great for our hand. It's okay for our range. He checks again, which is nice. Now definitely just checking. And now we have the second nuts here. And at this point, I think I just want to go for the overbet. Not quite 2x, but close to, because I want to get money from some hand that he thought he had showdown value with. But sadly, he probably didn't have anything, given how quickly he folded. Yeah, so I will have to look back at that hand with the 4 diamonds, but I still think there was a good one, because if he has the ace of diamonds or a king of diamonds, normally I would expect him to just continue barreling there on the turn. Now the only exception is maybe if he has aces or kings with the ace or king of diamonds. Maybe in that case he will just check the turn, so that's, I think, most likely what happened there. But I still think I had to go for it in that spot. The question is whether I should have called the flop with a gut shot and 2 overs when he made it something like 80% pot there. So maybe that was the mistake that I made in that hand. Here I would have considered raising against this recreational player in the big blind purely because I would like to play pots against a player like that. And we're getting a walk. Yay. So not much happening now, and we're still stuck at 17-13 here. I guess these sort of hands will help this a bit. I am going to isolate him quite big here because I do not want other callers or raisers. We do get a call in the small blind though, and we do not get a great flop for our hand. It is good for our range, but there is no point in c-betting this here. Yes, there are some hands that could call that are worse, but I don't like it. Especially the small blind could easily have a king or a queen, but I guess he could as well. And now he bets half pot here, and this is really annoying. Half pot is not necessarily indicative of a lot of strength, but he could still have a queen and call here, and he... I mean, I'm still gonna call it here. It's just... And now the flush comes in, and he bets over half pot again, so I think at this point I'm just done, and maybe I should have folded the turn there. I mean, I've not filtered his range a lot, and he just goes fairly big here. Could he do this with a queen? I guess he could, but on the other hand, I'm only to be good 30% of the time. I'm talking myself into a call here now against this player. I mean, he's been 15 over 13 hands, so it's very, very close one here. Am I ever good 30% of the time with... Well, there are quite a few draws that bricked, and he could do that. I'm just gonna call here, and I win against pocket tens. Wow. So I don't know. Did he turn pocket tens into a bluff there? I guess so. I guess he did, but I'm not even sure. Maybe he just thought that, well, he had a pair, because he basically put money into the pot when he had a chance. And that's the thing with these recreational players. Some of them just do really wacky stuff. I mean, why on earth would you half pot the turn here against two players with pocket tens and then more than half pot it again once the queen pairs and the flush comes in? I'm just taking my time a little bit here now before I 3-bet. I do not really like this. But on the other hand, I will never fold here either way. Whatever happens, the question is call or just jam. But I think he could have ace king. He could have queens. I will definitely jam. And oh, he has pocket eights. Oh, jeez. What on earth are people doing? I mean, amazing. Thank you so much here. But this is just yeah. I'm lacking words. So here I want to say cold. Cold 4-bet 8-8 and cold off jam. And I think he didn't even make it pretty big. No, I think, yeah, the size was big, but it wasn't like absolutely terrible. So yeah, he will get the non-crusher tag. So yeah, I thought like he wouldn't do that with a hand like pocket eights, but you see at 25 NL people do all sorts of crazy stuff. So that's where our win rate comes from. And I will have to review a couple of hands from this session, but the lesson that I've learned recently is that I shouldn't overfold against recreational players because they just do these crazy things as we saw there with the pocket eights. I mean, I had pocket kings there. I would never have overfolded there, but the thing is, if I had had a hand like jacks, I would have considered folding. So maybe I would have called the like pre-flop, the 4-bet, but then on the flop, if I didn't improve, if there had been a king or something on the board, I might have just folded to a c-bet. Here we can just about call king 5 suited, and on this board we will say bye-bye in case he c-bets. Which it does, and even c-bets big, which is fine, I guess. Yeah, it's okay with an ace and a queen on the board. Nothing we can do there, though. Yeah, so my c-bet percentage is only 33%, 2 out of 6. Not great, but obviously not a sample size that matters at all. And I know some of them were because I was either out of position or I happened to have a hand that was a clear check, like my pocket jacks on the king queen 7 board against 2 players. Get a walk with pocket 6s, fine with that too. Yeah, so I used to give recreational players too much respect when they half-potted it or so, because I just tried to apply my own logic where I said, well, they wouldn't do this with anything else than like a polarized range or something like that. But they often have a very mergy range. Okay, here I just have to think about this. I do want to, well, we are very, very, very deep, so I will not 4-bet actually, but I will call. And now we have second pair. And he will probably c-bet this one. And if he does so, I will go for a small check raise, because that's what I would do if I had been slow playing aces or kings here. So wow, this is interesting. Does he go? So why is he going so small? I guess this changes it now, which seems bizarre, but he should go big here. And I wonder if he has pocket 10s or something like that. And this is now, I mean, we're very deep and I have 2 pair. And he goes small once again. So I kind of feel like, well, what on earth is that he does? So I considered check raising there. Well, unfortunately, yeah, that's what maybe that's why I should have check raised. What did you have? You had pocket jacks. Well, this was a very small bet on the flop there with pocket jacks. I don't quite understand it. That doesn't really make much sense. He should have gone much bigger there with pocket jacks. But maybe he thought that I was trapping. I don't know what he thought. I think we lost a bit of value there on the turn. I could have check raised, but it felt like he was really trying to milk me, or he didn't have much. But the problem is, yeah, if he doesn't have much, then if I don't check raise, then he will obviously check behind there. So I should have just check raised small there on the turn in the hope that he calls. Here can go either way. I'm happy to go big here on this one. Could have checked, but with a flush draw and a tight player who likely overfolds a bit, I am happy to c-bet, and I haven't c-bet enough today anyway. Now standing at 43%. So this was fine. Still only 16-12 here playing today. Guess we just haven't been dealt a lot of really good hands. We have had kings, we've had jacks. Don't even think I've had ace king. So I'm not playing overly tight, I think, but just so it happens, haven't had a lot of hands. Here, this is a board that I will bet, and I am actually going to bet big. Although it's not quite GTO, but I had a redraw to a pretty good hand, to a straight there, and there were 2 diamonds on board and was quite connected. I had top pair, and I think 10-9, 8-7, 10-7, Queen 10, all of those hands could have called. 10-9 offsuit is a call here, and it will be a give up, especially against the big bet. Nothing we can do. So I'm going to play for another 10 minutes or so before we wrap it up. But so far, a decent session. We've not had loads of hands that we could play, but I think the ones that we played well. Here we have ace jack off, which we can raise, of course. And this is another aggressive player here, but no aggression this time. Ace queen off. Okay, now we're getting some hands here towards the end of the session, but unfortunately a walk. Well, I say unfortunately, but we just got the blinds, even though we posted the big blind. It's technically not our money anymore, so we got that, and that was fine. Here, he doesn't have a full stack, which is why I don't go too big, but I definitely want to isolate him. He's likely not the crusher, and I'm very happy to take it down with just king high. Pocket aces is not the worst hand, but once again, unfortunately, not a lot here, not a lot of action. But this is a player who doesn't like to fold his big blind, so hopefully we will get raised. Yes, we are gonna get raised, and I will just call here because he is such his c-bet 16 out of 16. So I think slow playing is the way here. He now c-bets very small, which he shouldn't do. He should c-bet bigger. And at this point, I am just gonna go for a raise. Let's say something like this. Because if he has 9x or some overpair or diamonds, although I do realize that I have the ace of diamonds, but if he has anything like that, he will probably continue here. Obviously, if he has a set or some silly 2-pair, but no, this was just a very cheap attempt on his side. And yeah, maybe we could have gotten more money if we had 4-bet, you never know. And now we have queens and we just get a walk. How annoying is that? But hey, we can't get action all the time. At least we got a little bit of action with our aces. We won about 13 blinds there. So yeah, normally it's much better to 4-bet aces there, especially when the rake is high. Because now I had to pay an extra bit of rake there for taking it down on the flop. However, because that player was 16 out of 16 for c-betting and then also c-betting the turn 86% of the time, I just thought that it's better to go for a call there, and maybe I should have just called the flop as well and let him bluff. Yeah, maybe. Well, in hindsight, hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? As they say. But yeah, that would probably have been a better move to just check call that small bet. But I thought because he made it small, I wanted to check raise, but sadly didn't get any action. Queen jack off, we would open if folded to. Well, these players are taking a long time, and now indeed we can open. And we get 3-bet once again, and with queen jack off, there is not that much I can do. Could consider 4-betting, but I think it's best to fold. I need to actually do a bit of studying how to react to 3-bets in the small blind against big blind, because I'm not entirely sure what bluff hands to use for a 4-bet. That would be handy to know. So that's something to put on the agenda to study, and that's something for you guys as well to do. Not necessarily that you exactly that spot, but if there is something that you're not sure of while you're playing, just try to make a note, or at least a mental note, and then look it up afterwards and try to study that. Here we're getting 3-bet by a player we don't really know. I mean, I'm not gonna call here. If anything, that I'd 3-bet, but I'm just going to fold, and I will say he called 3-bet in big blind. Yeah, so now he donks there. Yeah, would definitely not have called here with king queen offsuit. King queen suited all day. I was just considering just 4-betting here, because there could have been, oh, there was some dead money in there. But let's see. I mean, he does look strong here. He might have ace king or aces, or maybe even kings or jacks. Yeah, and that player clearly wasn't a very strong one. 5-4 off will be a fold against anything pretty much, except against the min raise from the small blind. So a couple of orbits maybe left, and then calling it a day here. Not calling, just folding in the small blind. I don't necessarily play a 3-bet or fold only strategy. I do sometimes have flats in my repertoire, but not with a hand like pocket fours against an early position raise. So ace queen off, we can definitely open, and we get called by everyone, but that's nice if you flop top 2 pair. We can go, well, I'll just go a little bit bigger than third pot here, but unfortunately we get 2 snap folds. Well, can't get value all the time. At least we're improving our c-bet statistics. Here, gonna go for a raise because we have a passive big blind. And we just get the folds. That's excellent. Okay, I think I'm gonna make this my last orbit, and here, I mean, against this guy, I'm just gonna do an exploitative 3-bet here with queen jack off, which is not GTO for sure, but he has folded 4 out of 4 times, when now 5 out of 5 times when he was 3-bet. So that's why I went for it there, and it worked out. This was the last hand. We won $21 here, 57 big blinds per 100. My 3-bet stats are only 5%, and that includes the last one with a queen jack off here. But this is just reflective of the hands that I just wasn't getting today. That's why we only had 17-14 here as VPPFR. Everything else I think is okay in terms of stats, so don't mind that. Here it's okay with the c-betting as well, but obviously sample size of just over 200 hands is nowhere near enough, but I'm still quite pleased with how today's session went, and I hope to see you here the next time. And in the meantime, you can watch the video up here, see me how I played a few weeks ago. Thank you, bye.